For 5 seasons, Lydia Cornell played Ted Knight's youngest daughter, Sarah, on the hit TV show Too Close for Comfort. But during that show's final season, Lydia was noticeably absent. In this video, I'll do my best to explain what happened. But first, let me introduce myself. Hi folks, my name is Dave Sundstrom, and I like to think of myself as something of a pop culture historian, especially when it comes to music, movies, and television. Simply put, I love talking about this stuff. So with that said, let's get rolling. Too Close for Comfort debuted on ABC TV in 1980. For the first 3 seasons, the show ran on that network, and then it became a first-run syndicated program for its final 3 seasons. Growing up, I really enjoyed this TV show. I had always been a big fan of Ted Knight's style of bombastic humor. Plus, I had loved the animated kids show Super Friends growing up, where Ted had served as the narrator. Yep, I can still hear him saying, "Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice," in my head. So you get it, right? I was, and am, a big fan of this guy. But truth be told, he wasn't the only reason that I was watching Too Close for Comfort. I was also a pretty darn big fan of Lydia Cornell as well. Given my age in 1980, I'd say that I was part of the target audience that the show's producers were after when they cast Lydia in the role. Prior to Too Close for Comfort, Lydia really hadn't been on TV all that much, just a handful of roles really. And Lydia was excited for the opportunity. Like myself, she'd grown up watching Ted on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and now here she was, working with the man, a comedic legend. You know what? I think we'd all feel a little bit intimidated given those circumstances, and Lydia, she was no exception. From everything that I've read, Ted kind of picked up on that, and he could either be hot or cold with Lydia. There were moments when he was kind and understanding, but there were other times when his patience would run a bit thin. And you know what? I totally get it. I understand what was going on with Ted. He had a lot riding on this TV program. He needed it to be successful. And working with a relative newcomer like Lydia, well, it was a bit risky. From what I understand, there were moments on the set where Lydia even had a hard time making eye contact with Ted because she knew how frustrated he'd become with her. And like many actors, I think it's fair to say that while Ted was doing his best to keep his ego in check, it was still there. And it's possible that he may have felt just a little bit threatened by the fact that Lydia was something of a shooting star, a star on the rise. I remember her co-hosting Dick Clark's New Year's Rocking Eve with Patsy Weber. And of course, there were the posters. Without a doubt, for that same certain target demographic I was talking about earlier, Lydia was the primary reason they were watching Too Close for Comfort. And Ted, whether he knew it or not, he may have felt a little bit threatened by all that attention that she was getting. I think this is a pretty darn interesting picture. I'm sure it wasn't intended to be interpreted this way. I'm going to do it anyway. Just look at the eyes of each actor in this promotional photo. Ted appears to be looking straight at Lydia while her eyes are looking straight ahead, almost trying to ignore Ted's gaze. And Deborah Van Valkenburg, the actress who played Jackie, well, she seems blissfully unaware of everything going on around her. And Nancy DeSalt appears to be just ever so slightly looking back at Ted, maybe wondering what the heck he's so upset about. Like I said, it's an interesting picture. When season 6 rolled around, Deborah Van Valkenburg made the decision to leave the show, and for whatever reason, I don't know if Ted had anything to do with this or not, the show decided to drop Lydia as well. As you might guess, this was tremendously disappointing for Lydia, who'd really enjoyed being part of the cast. Incidentally, the program was also renamed during its final season to The Ted Knight Show. In fact, for that final season, the setting was moved to Marin County, a new theme song was recorded, and a new opening title sequence was shot. Sadly, not long after that, Ted Knight fell ill with cancer, and production of the show came to a screeching halt. Almost a decade earlier, while working on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, Ted had been diagnosed with colon cancer. For a long time it had been in remission, but it was back. And sadly, this time he would succumb to that deadly disease. At the funeral, Lydia openly wept. How could she not? Despite their highs and lows, Lydia had grown awfully fond of Ted. Perhaps that's why it hurt so much when she was dropped from the show after its 5th season. There was much to admire in a man like Ted Knight. He was a feller who'd battled his way to the top, fought like hell to stay there, and then did everything that he could to beat cancer. So I guess you could say that the truth about the relationship between Lydia and Ted is that it was an extremely complicated one. Nevertheless, it was a relationship that I believe both individuals found value in. So that's it. One more picture. It's a good one. Alright, now it's your turn. Please share your memories in the comments section, and while you're at it, I'd love a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I would be absolutely honored if you would consider subscribing to my little channel. I talk about music, movies, and mostly television from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.